how do I separate different sections of my web page? And why would I want to do that? Well, there's a good reason for this. Now we're getting into the good stuff in CSS. We're starting to tackle layout. We did a good job here handling the fonts and the colors and stuff like that, but we got to move things around. Okay, here you can see things are laid out very differently than they are right here. So we need to actually start by identifying different sections, okay, on my web page, and then we're going to give them identifiers of some sort, and then we're going to start applying different styles to those different sections of my site. So let's have a look at our site, our coming soon site here, and let's try to figure out what the main sections are that we want to identify on our page. I see 3 main sections here, and let me show you what I think those are. There's this red box here. Okay, there's a bunch of content that goes in this main red box right here. And then there's this yellow box here, which I kind of consider to be sort of a priority area, okay, because they were trying to draw attention to this right here. So there's this sort of little inner priority box. And the inner priority box is inside this main box here. And then down here, we've got this footer area down here. So right now I know that there's at least 3 sections that we need to identify in our code. So let's go do that. I'm going to switch over to Text Wrangler and let's have a look at our code here. I'm going to introduce a new tag to you called the div tag. And the div tag, I'm just going to add it in here, just looks like this. I'm going to start by showing it to you the full opening and closing tag. We're not going to leave it here. But the div tag on its own doesn't actually do anything in HTML. It's just sort of a placeholder or an identifier. And we're going to add some attributes to kind of give it more information and distinguish it. But what you want to do is you want to put the opening and closing div tags around any content that you want to identify as being in a particular section. So what was the first one we identified? We identified that this section right here, everything from including the photo and the coming soon header and this text here and this link here, everything inside there is considered, we're going to call this this is our main section. So let's go ahead and I'm going to copy this down over, where am I going to do this? I'm going to put it right here. Okay, why did I do that? Why did I put it right there? Well, because I want everything between these two divs, the opening and closing divs, I want everything inside there to be one div. Okay, I want that to be one section. And now to keep things straight in my head, because we're going to start using lots of divs, I want to give it some sort of an identifier. I want to label it somehow. And the way that we do this is we use what's called IDs, okay, the ID attribute. And so I'm going to, and the neat thing about this is that the value that goes into the ID attribute can be anything I want. I'm the one who's going to decide what that is, and then I'm going to use that and identify, I'm going to put that in my CSS code and I'm going to style it a certain way. And you'll see what I mean. Don't worry, I'll actually show you how it's done. So I mean, what are we going to call this? I'm going to call it main because I've been calling it, this is the main section. So let's just go ahead, div ID equals main. And that's closing this closed div right here is closing that div right there, the main div. And just so that it makes it a little easier for me to read my code, I'm actually just going to turn soft wrap text off for a second. And look what I'm going to do. I'm going to tab this stuff over. You don't have to do this, but when you start using lots of divs in your code, it starts to get confusing and you get a little, it's easy to lose track of where your divs are located. So does that make sense? I put, the image, the coming soon, that paragraph text, and my email link, everything, all of that goes inside my div main, this div ID main. So, and now, what else do we have to do? Let's do the next one. We don't, we can tackle this in any order we want. Let's do this one right here, this footer area right here. We want all these icons and all this text down here to be in our footer div. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and add a div here, and I'm going to close that div, and I'm going to give it a different ID. I'm going to give it, what's an ID that makes sense for this? Yeah, footer. Footer makes sense. We're going to remember what that means. And once again, I'm just going to tab this over just to make it nice and neat and just as a visual reminder that everything between these two tags should be located within the footer, my div ID footer. Okay? What was the third? The third section that we want to identify was this main priority section right here, this button or this yellow priority area. And the only thing that's inside there is just the email thing. This is where we're going to do a nested div. We're going to put a div right inside here. Okay, I'm going to actually put opening div there. And let's just, sorry about that. Oh my goodness, wrecking my screencast. Okay, there. And I'm just going to tab that over. And I'm going to call this, I could call it button, but I prefer to use more semantic names. So I'm going to call it something like priority. Because, you know, I might decide to change the look of that at some other point. So I'm going to call that priority. You can call it button if you wanted to. So this div is located inside this other div. It's perfectly fine. You can have divs inside divs as long as you close them in the right order. So see, I'm closing this. This one closes that div, and then that closes that div right there. So I'm going to save that, okay? And I'm editing the files on the server, which is why I'm getting these little upload complete things here. And let's have a look at what that looks like. This is where my site in progress is located. I'm going to hit reload. It doesn't look any different, does it? No, because we haven't actually applied any styles to this or anything. Let's go and let's actually start to apply some styles to this. Let's go to style.css, and the first thing I'm going to do is now we can use the div selector. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a neat little trick to sort of just keep things straight in our heads. I'm going to add a border to all the divs. Now, there's not actually a border. I mean, it looks like a border. It's actually just, there's no border around the footer, and there's no borders around here. It's just that this makes it easy for me to see, like I can see the difference because of the difference in color, but we haven't applied different colors yet. So when you're designing pages using divs, I like to add a border to everything that I'm going to just have on while I'm doing the design, and then when I go live, I'll take it off. Okay, and let me show you how that's done. I'm going to add the border width attribute. I'm just going to make that 1 pixel, and then I'm going to do border style. I have to specify what kind of a border I want. I'm just going to do dashed because that'll really stand out. And border color, I'm going to use white in this case only because I know it's going to stand out really well against these dark colors. So I'm going to hit save, and now let's see what happens. I'm going to hit reload. Look at that. Okay, see what happened there? What's happening is that we've just applied a border around all these divs that we just added to our HTML code. Let's go take a look at that. See right over here? Each of these have had a border applied to them. And it's a little hard to tell because here it looks like this is, it's a little hard to tell that this div right here, see, this is actually located inside this bigger one right here, but trust me, it is. Okay, and there's some ways, once we start manipulating this, it's going to become more obvious. Let's leave it at that for now, okay? We can start doing more stuff. I'll show you how we can actually identify the various IDs in the next screencast. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.